Hello, everyone. Welcome. Okay, we're just going to get started here in just a minute. I think I have my drink off to the side here. Yes. All right, I'm just going to take a drink and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and you can find more information about the projects that I make on my blog at www.stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. And I spell my last name H-A-R-T in my all of my social media and also on my blog, because that is the spelling of my last name. So today I wanted to break out a really pretty classic. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Oh, I see you guys jumping on already. That's wonderful. I think in terms of timing, did really well today. So I'm super proud of that. Okay, so basically what I wanted to do with today's live, we are in a little bit of an in-between period, and sometimes I like to go back to annual catalog product when our inventory starts getting a little tight, like crazy. And Flowering Tulips is a stamp set that is just so absolutely beautiful. Many of you may already have this in your collection. If you are a fan of florals, this set is so gorgeous. And I didn't work with it nearly enough. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about doing, like casing the cards, the original cards that they had designed, with this stamp set and with the dies, which I haven't had a chance to do. Hi, Heather. How are you doing? So happy you could be here live. So we're going to be working with Flowering Tulips, and just to kind of give you an idea, because we have two sort of different themed cards here. This is the two-step stamping with the tulip stamp set. And then on this card, I'm actually going to be using, it's like an edge die where it cuts out these tulips here. And that's how we're going to be incorporating tulips onto this card. So a little bit of each. So depending on whether you're looking for all occasion, you know, something pretty and floral, or if you're looking to kind of do a mashup, you know, something with Easter and flowers and all of that, then we have two ideas here. Kathy says, yes. No, she says, yay, I have all the stuff to case these cards. Excellent. I know. And you know what? I don't know how you guys are feeling about this color refresh situation. Let me just say super quickly, and then I'll go through all of the products that we're going to be using for these cards. Okay. But I can tell you, I have been checking the inventory status report every day. I think that anybody right now who is a demonstrator is looking, because the colors, the color collections, the ink pads, the re-inkers they're going like crazy. They're either on low inventory, or they're already on back order. Now you can buy the colors individually. I'm talking about like the color collections, but what I want to say before I jump into this is, if you really want certain colors, don't wait. Put them in your cart, order them. If you have the ink pad, but you want to get the re-inker, or you want to get the markers, or you want to get, you know, a coordinating ribbon or something, order it. That's my advice, just because of the way that our inventory report is looking right now in terms of the ink pad. I think even though we don't have the official announcement until March 29th, people know that there's going to be some color changes, so they're just grabbing everything that they can now. So that's why I just want to mention that right out of the gate. That said, we also have a lot of spring papers that are going on low inventory or are becoming unavailable. So I just wanted to mention that too. And I can post more specific information if you guys are interested in that. If not, we don't have to worry about it. But here is what we're going to be working on with today's cards. So we're going to be using the Flowering Tulips Stamp Set, and I did a chart back when these were first released. I can't believe I was organized enough that I still have it together, but let me get this out. I'll show this to you. Okay, so We're going to be working with the stamp set. This is what the stamp set looks like. All of the different images. So it's a nice combination of images and sentiments here that we have. We even have like a little pattern stamp here, and you can build your flower as much as you would like. And then we also have the dies. And so this is a die that cuts a pattern into paper. And then we have all of our tulip builder pieces here, the dies. So some of these will do individual tulips, meaning all you need are the dies to build a tulip. And some of them, these ones that are smooth right here, these are the ones that cut out the stamped tulip images. So you'll have both, okay? And then we also have this edge tulip, which is what we're going to be using here. So this was a really, these are both available in the annual catalog. So the stamp set and the tulip dies, okay? And then I just figured it would be a little bit easier to see the dies that way. Now, specifically for these two cards, I'm going to be using, like I said, this stamp set and then also the Easter Bunny stamp set. And then we're going to be using a different die set as well. So from the tulip dies, I'm going to be using this. And then I kind of have, this is what I like to kind of call a kitchen sink project, meaning I'm bringing in a bunch of different products. So bear with me. You guys can use whatever you have at home. Now, from the Something Fancy dies, I really love this angled piece right here. And I'll show you. Oh, here it is. This is what it cuts out. Like, this is what it looks like when it cuts out. Just edgy, just really cute. Just gives it some visual interest, different from being like a typical rectangle. So I wanted to use that on my Mother's Day card, which we're going to use right there. So that's a different die set. And then I'm also using Fabulous Frames. So this one is for this card. And then this one, we're actually not using the outer frame. We're actually using the rectangle from the inside, which you can just cut yourself a basic rectangle. I'll let you know what size it is. But I already had these out and I was like, this cuts a nice rectangle, so I'll just use this. And so that's what we're going to use on this one. So totally up to you in terms of which dies you want to use. But I definitely wanted to use those. All right. And then what we're going to do with our tulips is we're going to color them. So I actually already cut it out in basic white. We're going to use our Stampin' Blends a little today. And we're going to color these. This was a version that I had done with Evening Evergreen and Polished Pink. And I just wanted to kind of keep that out. And you can see I colored the Fresh Freesia, which is the one that ended up here on this card, and I love the way it turned out. If you want to cut it out in Fresh Freesia cardstock, you can definitely do that. Don't feel like you have to color it, but that's what we're going to be doing today so that we can get a two-tone look here. Okay, and then let's go over some of the other pieces. So I pre-cut the things that we're going to need for our cards today, hoping that I don't have to get my die cutting machine out during the live, just for the sake of time. But if we do need to cut anything, we can do that. So these are the pieces for our cards, but here are the full size designer series paper patterns. So this is something called Fancy Flora. This is a 6x6 designer series paper pack. This has gorgeous spring colors and patterns in it. So here, the color that was really standing out to me was Soft Sea Foam. I just felt like it was really standing out against the petal pink and everything like that. And I thought they would be great for a tulip themed card. So that's what's going on here. Okay, so that is going to be our pattern here. I just wanted you to be able to see it in 6x6, but I did trim this down to 4x5¼ for this card. And then we're also going to be using this pattern. Okay, so this is just about every color under the rainbow. We have a lot of different colors on this piece of paper, but it actually makes for such a beautiful spring card, I think. I have been using this designer series paper almost nonstop. I used it for a class recently. I just keep using it on my projects. I love both sides of this paper. I love that there are so many different color choices. And so that's the piece that's going to go here, but I just wanted you to see these two. And for anybody who hasn't seen Fancy Flora yet, and as of right now, this paper is still available. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to use it in tonight's live, just to give you a little feel for what this paper looks like. So if you haven't seen it already, you can see We have all of these different, and I sorted it out by pattern here. So I was kind of playing around with this earlier, just trying to look at the different patterns, but let me just show you a few. So here's one that I think would be absolutely fabulous with the tulips dies. And if you want to cut out your tulips in the, if you want to build a tulip with designer series paper, this would be a beautiful paper to do that with. And then you can see the other side here too. Okay, and then we have our petal pink, and then this side is all kinds of different colors, which again, I absolutely love. But I think this would make gorgeous, gorgeous flowers, whatever you're using. Okay, and then, yeah. So there's many more papers than this, but that's just to give you an idea. And if you guys like really bright colors, they have that too. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. So that's the designer series paper that we're using. I'm also going to be using some Stampin' Blends here, Gray Granite, a little bit of Daffodil Delight, and then Flirty Flamingo. I'm also going to be bringing in just a touch of, like I said, Fresh Freesia, and also, oh my goodness, Soft Succulent. I don't know why I blanked on that, but I did. Okay, and so I think we can go ahead and get started here. So let's start with our first card. We'll do our tulip card first. And if you guys have any questions during the live, just shout them out. I'll either answer them live or in the replay if I don't get a chance or if I don't catch it. And let me know where you're watching from. Be sure to say hi, whether you're, watching live or in the replay. I love to hear from you. And let me know, have you started on your spring cards? What are you working on right now? Okay, so we're going to start here. So here are our pieces. We're using a soft seafoam card base here. I've been using the subtles a lot. I did cut an insert for inside this card, but honestly, this cardstock is so light, you might not feel like you need it. It's totally up to you. So the insert here is 4 by 5 1/4. Our card base is that A2 size, so 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And then, like I said, our designer series paper pattern, this is also 4 by 5 1/4, so nice and basic in terms of measurements here. And then I am going to be using a piece of this natural finish ribbon. I always forget the name of this. So we're going to trim a piece of this out. And then I am going to, I'm just going to have these on hand. So whatever you guys have, if you want to use rhinestones, pearls, I'm going to be using pearls, just very few. All right. And then this is that die that we just talked about here. When you cut this out, it cuts in 2 pieces. It cuts the frame and the inside rectangle at the same time. So I actually ran this through twice, once in soft seafoam for the frame. And then I ran it again in basic white so that I would have the insert here. And then you guys can use all of these leftover pieces, which you'll see just even looking at the leftover pieces. These are the ones I didn't use. So we can make a whole nother set of really gorgeous cards just using the pieces that we're not going to use tonight. So just set those aside and save those, and we can always make something with that later. And then, of course, we have this piece cut in soft seafoam as well. Okay, so we can do our stamping first. The ink colors that I pulled out tonight, I'm going to be using a little bit of Memento black ink. This is for anybody who's either crafting along with me, or, if you're watching the replay and you're going to do this with it, the replay. I grabbed, between the 2 cards, I'm going to be using Petal Pink Calypso Coral, a little bit of soft seafoam, a little bit of So Saffron, and Balmy Blue. Okay, so I'll actually pull out these now because these are the 3 that we're going to use here. All right. And so, you know what? I wonder if I should move those dies out of the way because they are noisy. All right, so we're going to do Petal Pink. Let's open that one up. I'm going to set this over here. We're just going to kind of move this around a little bit. And I'm going to get my little stamp pad going here. So this is just my foam mat from the Stamparatus and a piece of scrap paper. I'll just flip it over so it's not looking too super messy. Okay. All right, and then we'll put this down. This is a photopolymer stamp set, so I'm just putting that foam mat down to give it a little extra cushion. And then this time, so we were all joking around the last time I used a 2-step stamp set, which was Fancy Flora, because you guys know I absolutely love florals. I could not get my lineup right. I was like really off my game. So I'm going to stamp the darker color first tonight. And you guys can let me know in the comments if you're comfortable sharing. What do you do? Do you do the darker color or the lighter color? And you can also let me know if you do it freehand, or if you like to stamp with the Stamparatus when you're two-step stamping. I'm going to do freehand because we're going to be stamping kind of the same stamp in multiple places. But if you were going to do this with 3 different flower stamps, then it would be, you know, absolutely fine to do with the Stamparatus. So this is going to be our lighter color. And then this is going to be our darker color. So I'm going to just clean this off really quick because I was stamping with these just a little bit earlier before the live. And we'll just clean those super quick. Okay. All right. So what I wanted to do, you know, didn't necessarily need all of our tulips, right? Like the whole, I didn't need all 3 flowers to be on the image. So I'm just going to stamp 3. It's okay if you stamp off slightly. That's why I recommend having the little mat and the scrap paper there. And then we'll just go ahead and stamp around. So I'm going to do my darker color first. And I'm going to do these kind of at an angle here. All right. It's been a minute since I used this set. I was really excited when I got this one out. There's so many things I wanted to do with this that I didn't actually do. And I think I did have either a live or a class on this a year or so ago. And I loved every card. So really, really happy to be working with this again. Let me know in the comments if you guys have this. And if you don't, it is, like I said, it is available in the annual catalog. Sometimes we lose track of them, right? Okay, so we'll do these right here. So just 3. And then I'm going to come in with the second one. So this is that fuller, which would be technically the base stamp. So you can let me know which one you do first. We're going to do this one, the lighter one, second. I figured it would be a little bit easier to line up. At least that is my hope. And you can see this flower here comes out, like kind of stands out on the side. And then we have this really rounded edge down here. So I'm going to try to focus on lining it up that way. I can see this standout flower here lines up. So I'm just trying to make sure I can hit on these points. And then I'm going to stamp. And that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to do that again. And again, I have that sort of standout right there. Okay. And we're going to do that one more time. Isn't it funny how when you're actually like lining it up and stamping, I stop talking because it's like I can't focus unless I stop talking or something. All right, and then there we go. Okay, that one might have been a little bit off, but for the most part, we did pretty good. All right, and so the next thing we're going to do is our stem. And, you know, it's up to you whether or not you guys want to add the leaves. And for a tulip, I feel like it's not a leaf. I feel like I'm supposed to say something else. I'm not the best when it comes to technical terms, so I apologize for that. But we're going to use soft sea foam for this. This is not a 2-step stamp, meaning I'm just going to do 1 green for the stem and for our little leaf here. And I'm going to clean these off really quick just so that it doesn't look weird when I stamp it. I don't want to have any dried ink on here. Okay. Oh, I am so ready for spring. We keep talking about this, and we were having better weather, and then it got really super cold and started snowing, and now today it's 60 degrees again. So we're having some very interesting weather here in Pennsylvania. I don't know about you guys. All right, and then we're just going to add some stems here. Trying not to get too much overlap here. And then let's see if we can come right up here. So beautiful. And then down here, instead of doing like a full one, I'll just do a couple of small ones. How about that? just to kind of give it a little touch. Okay. And then the last one, the last stamp for the tulip builder rather, is going to be just a little bit of So Saffron. You guys could stamp whatever center you like. I just wanted to have a little pop of yellow in there for our little center of our flower, of our tulip. And that is this little stamp right here. Okay. I think this one's going to be all right. Let's see. And I just re-inked my So Saffron, so this should look good. And then we're just going to stamp that right into the centers. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to get my Calypso Coral one more time. And that's what we're going to use to stamp our Happy Mother's Day sentiment here. All right, and then I think I already have that on a block. Yep. And I'm just gonna stamp this a couple of times just to make sure it's well inked here. I'm liking the way that looks. And then I'm just gonna try to line this up with the line here on my scrap paper and stamp. Okay, a little close to the edge, but I made it. Okay, so there we go. And now we can go ahead and put this card together. So that was pretty easy, right? Not too bad. And just gonna put these two pieces right over here. And let's start building out our first card. And then the one thing I do want to do is trim my ribbon because I'm gonna wrap it around my designer series paper. Okay, so that's cut at 4 inches. So I would just cut that a little bit longer, just enough that you can tuck those edges. And if you don't like to tuck the edges, just cut your decorative, you know, slightly under 4, your decorative edges under 4 inches. Okay. And then I was actually using my tear and tape earlier, so I think I'll just stick with that if you guys don't mind. And this is what the other side looks like, so that would be equally pretty if you want to do some tulips with that side. Okay. I have some stuff coming through on my phone. I hope you guys can still hear me. If you guys are here watching live with me, just give me a little shout out and let me know that you can still hear me, because sometimes even though I put my phone like on, what do they call that? The do not disturb. Certain people still come through because they're on my favorites, and they are my favorite people, but I don't think they're ever going to get used to my live time. I'll just say that. I've been doing Facebook Lives on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. for as long as I can remember. But that's okay. I still love them. All right. So just kind of putting this across the center. I typically do that. I don't know why. I just always like to center my ribbon. And then we're going to do a little bit more adhesive here around the edges. I'm going to stick with my tear and tape just because we have a little, you know, extra on the back here. And then I'm going to go back through and check comments between our cards. And then our second card will be that Easter card. And that one's not too bad either. It's still pretty easy, just depending on your level of comfort with cards. All is good. Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate that. Okay. And then I'm just going to pull these pieces off. We'll put this on our card base. I can't remember if I burnished that edge or not. Let's see. Sometimes I do that before the live. I think I did. Okay. All right. So we're just going to set this down. If you don't like that bulk, you can pop this up on dimensionals, but I don't think it's too bad. Okay. And then for this piece, what I did was I kind of reconnect these on the back and then pop the whole thing up on dimensionals. I feel like it's easier because this is a really narrow, a really narrow frame to kind of get up on a dimensional on its own, you know, it's just kind of easier to do it this way. So once I kind of fit that back in with the frame, I just put a little bit of tear and tape on it. And we don't have to worry about taking the backing off on this one because we're going to pop it up on dimensionals. Hopefully my lineup is good enough there. It looks pretty seamless. that's looking good. Okay, let's see on this side. That looks good. So I'm just going to put a little bit more, just so that we don't have this like kind of flailing around. All right, and then I'm just going to grab my dimensionals. Got a new sheet. Always love a new sheet of dimensionals. And we'll just do our classic 5. When we're working with a rectangle this size, just makes me feel better. Okay. All right, and then we're going to peel these pieces back, super easy. The bigger dimensionals are so much easier for me than the baby ones for some reason. All right, and then I'm going to put this slightly above. So even though this is centered, you can put this center if you want to. I'm going to place it slightly like close to the top edge here center, because I'm putting this on the bottom. So I just want to leave myself a little bit of room. So we're just going to set that up here. Okay. And then we're going to, same thing, we're just going to pop this up on dimensionals too. And I actually have a sheet where I'm kind of running to the end. So I'm just going to grab a strip here. And we'll just pop this right onto the back. And put that right down here. And then we can finish with our pearls. Trying to line this up with my frame here. I think I got it. Okay, and then let me just throw these away because this is going to drive me crazy. And let's get our pearls. So all I did with this one was like really simple, just a pearl at the top and at the bottom. And I'm just going to use my take your pick tool to grab these because they're smaller. Just pop one right there. And one right there. Okay, so nice and easy and pretty. Hello, my aunt is here. So happy to have you here. All right, so that's our first card. Now here is our second card, and this is our super cute little bunny. Love these little characters. And I need to go back to Rain or Shine and work with them more too, because that is so cute. Oh, anybody else on Paper Pumpkin watch? Everybody watching their mailboxes for their Paper Pumpkin kits, because March should be here any minute. I was really sad that it wasn't there yet today. Okay, so for this card, this is actually a mint macaron card base. Okay, so, or however you guys say it. Do you say macaron or macaroon, or however you want to say that? And then my insert, the typical insert size 4x5 1/4 in basic white. And then we have our designer series paper piece in the 4x5 1/4 as well. And then for this one, let me give you the size on this rectangle. So this is the inside of the Fabulous Frames rectangle right here. Sorry, there's two of them stuck together. So it actually cuts both of these pieces at the same time, which is really nice. So we're going to be using that inner rectangle there. And just in case you don't want to do the die cutting, you just want to cut the rectangle this size on your own with your trimmer. Or if you have other rectangle dies you want to use, this is 3 by 4 1/4. So nice and simple. And now here is that tulip edge. So what that means is this cuts the design into, but it does not cut out the bottom. So I just like to use my basic white scraps for something like this, right? So if you have any strips of basic white left over, I think that it's perfect for this type of thing. And we're just going to trim it out because I know I'm going to trim this down. But my advice would be just leave yourself a little bit of a slope that you can color, and you can always trim this down to the exact size that you need. Okay, so this is what we're going for here. And if you wanted to go all the way across your card, it will fit. So if you would want to pop this whole thing up on dimensionals, maybe put your sentiment down here, you could do it that way as opposed to putting it on the rectangle like I am. So just so that you have that choice, right? Whatever you want to do. It's going to be gorgeous either way. And if you would want to cut that into your card base, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to literally cut straight just to kind of remove this from the basic white. Okay. And just one more time, just in case you didn't see it, let me show it to you again. So this die and this die. These were the two that we're using for this card. Because I already cut them out in advance, I just wanted to make sure that I showed that to you. And then I'm going to put these right over here for a second. And I'm going to bring my scrap paper back, and then we'll do some coloring and some stamping. So the question, here it is. I was like, what did I do with my mat? Okay, here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is color this, and this will give this a second to dry. It doesn't take long with alcohol markers to dry, but it will just give it a second to kind of cool off and set while we're doing our stamping. So I'm going to bring in my soft succulent. This is my Stampin' Blends combo pack. And then I'm also going to be bringing in my Fresh Freesia. So here's Fresh Freesia Light. Let me grab dark really quick. Okay, so we have Fresh Freesia Light and dark. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Soft Succulent Light, and I'm going to go all the way across the bottom. So I'm just going to start taking it across. If you want to do this in inks with your daubers, you could do that too. I love our Stampin' Blends. If you're not familiar, these are the alcohol markers that Stampin' Up! Came out with. They've been around for a few years now. And alcohol markers, you can very easily blend colors. It's nice and smooth, and you can layer. They're really pretty. So I keep it pretty simple with my Stampin' Blends. There are certain techniques that I'll do with it, but I'm still learning. And then you can see that we have all of these little sort of stems here for our tulips. So I'm just going to kind of go through and add some color to our stems. And just get a little bit of color there. And it's just really all of the straight lines that I'm focusing on this with. And then anything that's loopy, I am going to color with Fresh Freesia and consider that a tulip or a flower. So it doesn't take too long. This is all fresh, this is all Soft Succulent Light. That was the brush tip side, and then we also have the bullet tip side. So just depending, sorry, that was really tight. We want a nice tight close on these so that the alcohol markers don't dry out. So after you're done coloring with it, make sure you put your cap back on right away. And now I'm going to go through with my light Fresh Freesia. And we're just going to start, and I'm going to do all the same color, but we are going to add a little bit of dark to it as well. So right now, I just want to get my sort of overlay of my light Fresh Freesia. And with the Stampin' Blend, it almost looks pink, doesn't it? Such a beautiful spring color. They both are. Okay. And these are both in colors. These are the 2021, 2023 in colors. And like I said, don't wait. All of our colors, I've noticed, have been making their way to the inventory list in one way or another, whether it's a color collection or the in colors or, oh my goodness, even the 2022, 2024 in colors, which we know are going to be around for another year. Okay, at least I think they are. Okay, so I've never seen any different. This is my first time with a color refresh as a demonstrator, so it's going to be new to me too. All right, and you can see how this side is already drying. It looks lighter than this side, even though it's all the same color. So now I'm coming back in with Fresh Freesia Dark, and all I want to do, I'm going to do the brush tip side again. Right at the base, I'm just going to add a little bit of a darker color. If you want to blend these out and add, more detail, you can do that. I just want a little pop, just a little something. And so I'm just going to add just that little bit right there. And I'm going to do the same thing with Soft Succulent Dark. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go down to the base of the stems. So just a little bit. If you feel like it's too dark, you can take that lighter color and blend it out again. Just something to add a little bit of something. Okay. And if you want to go the whole line, you could do that too. All right, but I'm going to stop right there. And then we're just going to set that aside. And let's switch this out. I'm going to get my Memento ink now. So for any of you who are new to or getting used to Stampin' Blends or alcohol markers, Memento is a safe ink to use with blends, meaning it's safe to use with any alcohol marker. Actually, it won't, the ink won't blur or bleed or disappear when you're coloring with your markers. So that's why we're using this. If you're not going to be using Stampin' Blends or alcohol markers, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so here's one way that you can kind of build your scene, just depending on what you want your scene to look like. So right here, we have our little bunny sitting among the tulips and looking at or hanging out with a butterfly. Okay, and then we have our little sentiment over here. So if you want to kind of get your positioning in place and figure out where you want things to go, I would say get your tulips and just kind of get a feel for where they're going to sit. And then, you know, right here is the bottom of our rectangle. So if I wanted to line that up with the edge here, I might want to stamp my bunny a little bit higher, but I'm going to stamp the bunny a little bit closer to the end and then work it from there. So I'm going to stamp my bunny here. I'm going to keep the same layout, but you can always kind of get a feel for your layout this way. And then you put whatever sentiment you feel will fit best. So for this one, I put, let today be the start of something new. On this one, we could say happy Easter. We could say happy birthday. Let's see, because we have both stamp sets here, so we could use either or. Just to kind of go back and look at this. Love you so much. That would be so sweet. Just thinking of you today. Maybe we should do that one. That would be really pretty. And it's like a cheerful one. It's not like a sad one. So let's do that. Look, you guys can tell I use this a lot. I actually have like a little stamp kind of floating around in the bottom here. That's unusual. Okay, that needs to be cleaned. Is that the one that I want? Just thinking of you today? I think it is. So let me get that one. All right, and then this block is way too big for this stamp, but I'm just going to use it just because it's sitting here. Okay, so we're going to stamp our bunny first. Okay, and I think what I'm going to do is, just so that I know and I can see the ink, I'm just going to do it this way. So just want to leave enough room for my sentiment over here. I don't mind if the bunny is partially covered by the tulips. That's just my thing. I'm totally cool with that. If you want it to be above the tulips, you can, you know, work that out. And then we're also going to do our butterfly. I think I stamped my butterfly upside down the first time. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's do, I'm pretty sure I did. Look at this. Well, I guess they fly in both directions, right? Okay, that's fine. And then sentiment. Okay, so you can pick whatever color you want. We clearly have a lot of colors here that you can choose from to do your ink for your sentiment. I had chosen balmy blue, and I'm just going to stick with that. So I'm going to grab that one. And then I'm just going to do kind of like a general layout here. So I'm going to bring that back in. I'm not gluing it down. I just want to kind of get my feel here. And then I'm going to stamp this just a couple of times to get this one going. Sometimes when it's been a minute since you've inked up and used a stamp, it's nice to kind of warm it up again. We're just going to say, just thinking of you today. All right, and now we're going to color our bunny and our butterfly. And look at the mess I'm making over here. You can't trust me with ink pads, I'll tell you. Got to remember to close them all. Okay, speaking of which, that one wasn't closed. All right, so let's go ahead. Now, this is why I had gray granite set aside. So I'm going to use my gray granite combo for this particular bunny. And then I'm also going to use just a couple of touches of Flirty Flamingo for like the ears and the nose. So I'm going to start with light, and we're just going to color our bunny in here. I'm going to avoid the eye, and I'm going to leave a little bit of white above the nose so that I can kind of make my own color nose. And no specific, I do have a video about how you can create fur. I'm not going to focus on that today because it does take time, but just in terms of the most basic coloring, you can still get a really nice little light and dark color look here without having to do techniques. But I have to tell you, doing the techniques with the alcohol markers are great. Excellent results. All right, so I'm just using the brush tip side. I'm just going to make the whole bunny gray granite. I thought about leaving a white tail, and I was like, no, let's just color it. And I said I was going to check comments in between cards, and then I just went right on into the second card. So I'll check in a minute. And then I'm going to switch to my bullet tip side to kind of do the outline of this ear. Okay, and I do recommend the color lifter, especially if you're just getting started. That can help you with little boo-boos and mistakes. All right, and so I'm going to take Flirty Flamingo Dark on that bullet tip side, and I'm just going to add in a little nose here, just a little pink nose. And then I'm just going to put a little bit, you can see that the Flirty Flamingo is a really bold color. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the dark there in the center, and then I'm going to bring in the light, and I'm just going to sort of blend that out. Just to add a little pop of color here to our bunny. And then I'll show you something that I like to do with the eye with the black Stampin' Write marker. I tend to do it a lot. I don't think I was doing it on purpose in the beginning. I just started doing it, and now I sort of add it to everything. Now I'm going to come back in with the dark. I'm going to focus on the areas where the designer actually has, like, where they've colored kind of hair-ish, you know, or that type of thing. And we're just going to add some shadow. And we're just going to kind of go back through. You can even do like a darker belly if you want to. Okay, so kind of right down here, I'm just going to kind of create a shadow where he would be sitting, or she. Okay, and then I'll get that little eyebrow there. We'll do the lip. It's just a little bit of an outline. Okay. And then I'm going to come back in with my gray, and I'm just going to sort of blend it a little. So nothing too crazy. Let me do the brush tip side, and we'll just soften it up. So you're still seeing that difference in color, but it's just a little softer. So it doesn't feel like it's just a harsh outline. And you don't have to focus too hard on the feet if you're going to be covering, you know, covering your bunny with the tulips like I'm going to be, but I still wanted to show you for the sake of wherever your bunny is going to sit. I'm going to kind of go around the eye here, and then I just want to sort of blend out this line. And then by doing that, I feel like it just kind of creates a little bit of like a real soft, furry look. Okay. All right, so there's our bunny, and then we're also going to do our butterfly. I'm just going to take the Fresh Freesia. Well, you know what? Let's do dark because we did light mostly with the flowers. And then I'm just going to do a little outline here with the bullet tip side. Just depending on how much you enjoy coloring, you could really add a lot of different little colors here, even just with this small butterfly. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that Daffodil Delight. This is the dark, but you could also use the light. So whenever you purchase Stampin' Blends, typically it comes in a duo, a light and a dark of the same color, but there are some exceptions to that. The color lifter being one of them. Now, this is my Stampin' Write marker in black. And again, we have two different tips here that you can use. I like to use the little journaling tip. There's also a brush tip side, but I'm going to cover that one. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go back in here and reinforce the eye color. So I want to keep that little bit of shimmer on the eye that the artist created, but I do want to add just a couple of eyelashes because I just think it makes the bunny cuter. And then that just adds just a little bit of extra color around the eye. Okay, so totally optional, but I think it's cute. And now we can put this together. So just depending on where you want this to sit, I'm okay if this comes down a little bit. Now what I'm noticing here is that I'm missing a little bit of soft succulent and light on the edge here. But some of this is going to get trimmed off. So what I would like is to kind of line it up here, but a little bit lower. I want to be able to see a little bit more of my bunny. And then I want the slope to kind of come up here to almost highlight our sentiment. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tear and tape here. You could also use your multi-purpose glue, whatever you have on hand, whatever your favorite adhesive is. Okay, so I'm going to kind of take it right down here. And I do want to go right to the edge. So I'm just going to put a couple little extra pieces right here, just so that we go right to that edge there. Okay. And I do have a little bit of overlap, so I'm just going to fold that up. This is all going to be covered, so we're not going to see it. And this whole piece is going to get popped up on dimensional, so that's okay. And then I'm just going to try to find my place here. I want to cover the adhesive first of all. And then once I kind of find my happy place here, I'm just going to tack it down. Okay, and then I'm literally just going to trim on the other side. If you want to trim this off, you can. I think it's going to look nice on the card. So we'll eyeball it and see. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off the edges. So I'm just going to hold this in place. I'm going to try to keep my scissors perfectly straight. I don't want to go inward because then I'll cut into my rectangle. So just going to go straight down. Okay, so we have that edge and then same thing. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to try really hard to stay straight. It's always harder for me on this side. Let's try this way. Whether you're a righty or a lefty. And then I'm just going to hold that. See how my hand wants to turn? Okay. All right, I think that looks really good. So let's take a look at this on our layers now. So for this one, I don't have any ribbon. I could very easily do pool party or something like that, but I'm just going to leave it like this. You just depending on the amount of embellishment you want on your card. I do need to burnish this edge, so let me just do that real quick. I've really been enjoying using the subtles, I have to say. They've really been cheering me up come spring, or at least waiting for it, right? Oops, I'm so sorry, you guys. I just bumped my camera. Okay, so, and here's what it looks like if you would use it on this side. So that would be just as beautiful. So let me just show you. Okay, so that's a little bit on the softer side. And we're going to go with the bolder side for sure. I do try to save my tear and tape for my 3D projects, which I don't make that much. I really focus more on cards than 3D stuff, but sometimes I'll get stuck using a certain adhesive and then I just keep rolling with it. All right, so just gonna slide that over very slightly. One of the best parts about using the multi-purpose glue. I love this pattern. I don't know what you guys think of it, and I mean, you can be totally honest, but I think it's gorgeous. Okay, and now I'm gonna grab my dimensionals wherever I shall have put them. Here they are. All right, and then let's put this whole thing. I wish I had the big ones. I went through my gigantic dimensional sheets, like the, what do they call that? Foam adhesive sheet, I think is the difference there. I probably should use more than this, but I'm gonna just go with this. And you can see I didn't trim off that bottom. I think it looks okay, but let's just take a look at it. Our sentiment is right here, so we don't really have to worry about any other positioning for this. And then we're just gonna pop this down. Okay, so I think the most of the work with this one was really the coloring. And then if you want to finish off with an embellishment, I know this is looking super cluttery, so let me just move these aside. Okay, a little bit better. All right, so on this one, I actually used these here. So these are called the iridescent pastel gems. We also have iridescent rhinestones. We have kind of a few different things there. You could use whatever you like. I like that we have these pops of the Calypso coral if you would want to use a brighter, but I actually really love the iridescent ones. And I just kind of focused it around the bunny, but you could put your embellishments wherever you want. So we're going to finish that up. We'll pop these on, and you guys can see I pretty much went through all my little babies. So we're going to use the full size, the big ones. I'm just going to kind of pop them in the same areas. Okay, and we'll put one among the tulips. And then we have our little bit of sparkle here. Okay. And if you guys are still here live with me, I'm going to ask a question. If you're comfortable answering, let me know. So would you guys want to see me? And of course, I can't use the designer series paper because that's retired. But would you like to see like cased cards, or would you like to see more cards with flowering tulips? Because if I'm being completely honest, I would really like to work with it a little bit more. But I want to know what your thoughts are on that. So here's our first card. This one says Happy Mother's Day, but of course you could swap this out for literally whatever occasion you would want. All right. And then here is our Easter card. And again, you could swap that out just for whatever occasion that you would want. But just so cute. So I know I kind of use more than one set of dies and more than one stamp set. And I really do try to narrow that down sometimes, but I think just with the way that things are with ordering and inventory right now, like we're going to use some stuff. We're going to use things up. We're going to use a couple of different things. Okay. So, let me just go through this one more time, and then I will go through comments and see what everybody's saying. Okay, so just again, we're using Flowering Tulips, the tulip dies. We're using the Fancy Flora Designer Series paper, just in a couple of bright spring patterns. We're also using the Easter Bunny stamp set. And then I also brought in fabulous frames. In terms of our embellishments, pearls, iridescent pastel gems, and then also this natural finish ribbon. Okay. And then totally up to you guys in terms of color combos, but we actually use soft sea foam and petal pink for this. And then this is mint macaron, and then literally a mashup. And of course, coloring is always optional, but it's nice to kind of see some stamp and blend coloring versus just stamped images. So we do have kind of a toss up, like kind of a variety tonight. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go back through comments now. Thanks for being patient with me on that. I see a lot of comments. Well, hello, everybody. Okay. Love the DSP with the tulips. Oh, yeah. Doesn't it look, it looks really good, I think. Really good combination. And sometimes I think we can get stuck with the more artistic looking paper, right? A little bit more abstract. But when you bring it in, you can kind of anchor it with whatever stamp set you're using. It's a very broad pattern paper. Like you could use it with a lot of different stamp sets and dies. And even if you cut out flowers or cut out leaves in these colors, people would be like, wow, that's pretty. I don't think they would necessarily know it came from Fancy Flora DSP. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Tracy. She says, I'm sorry, I'm a little late. No worries. This card is so pretty. Oh, I'm glad you like it. Hi, Roberta. Oh, thanks everybody for being here. You guys are the best. Hi, Jackie. I try to stamp freehand on two-step stamps, Kathy says. I need the practice. Yeah, you know what? Try the dark and then the light. It just went better for me with this stamp set for some reason. See what you think of that. She says the annual catalog, this is Kathy, the annual catalog goes by the wayside when the mini catalogs come out. That is so true, isn't it? And then we forget about all of the wonderful stamp sets. That is so absolutely true. It was so, so nice to go back and grab Flowering Tulips and just play with, and I mean, because, you know, maybe you've had this in your collection for a while. Like you said, we start working with the new stuff and we forget. And when you come back to that, the minute you stamp them again, you're like, wow, I really missed this set. Like, this is so beautiful. So it is nice to point these out because we don't know what's staying and we don't know what's retiring yet. So it's nice to feature what is still available in the catalog right now. Okay. Tracy is saying, I find the stamping, she says, I find stamping the more detailed image first. It seems it's easier to line up for me that way. That's good to know, Tracy. I think so too. Roberta says, Ohio weather is like 71 day and then the next morning you wake up to snow. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening here too. Which stamp set did you use for the Happy Mother's Day? This one is actually Flowering Tulips. So right here, that's our Happy Mother's Day. So just to give you guys an idea of everything you're going to get. Thank you, Mother's Day, birthday, love you, thinking of you, and then pretty much anything start of something new, which I love things like this at the beginning of a season. I love using sets like that, or I should say not sets, stamps. Hi, Karen. Okay, and then Kathy says, in my neck of the woods in Wisconsin, we're going to be in the 20s and single digits and windy this weekend. Oh, and it's raining. Oh, man, you guys can't catch a break there. Okay. Oh, and then everybody's telling me I'm okay. My aunt is here. Hi, Penny. Thanks, Penny. She says, cute card. Hi, Judy. Hi, Jean. Kathy says, my Mango Melody blends finally bit the dust today. I know. Look at this. Look at how bad this is. I have to show you guys. And I do need to stock up on these things before we find out what's going. But I have completely obliterated this tip. Oh my gosh. I have so many blends that need to be replaced. I have some that are in really fantastic condition, but Mango Melody, oh man, that's a good color. Hi, Bill. Oh, it's so nice to have you here. Hi, Mary. Hi, Marilyn. I like that bold size. The bold side, it makes the card pop. She's talking about this pattern right here. Me too. I don't know. You know, it looks a little bit crazy when you're just looking at the paper and then boom, it just brings everything so together. And it's nice to see those subtle sides too, but I agree with you. I like that pop. Hi, Anne. Oh, thanks, Roberta. She says, beautiful cards. Mary says, so cute, adorable. Hi, Maureen. I would love to see more tulip cards. Good, Roberta. I can do that. Kathy says she would also like to see more. Yellow tulips. Oh my gosh, yes. We should do all the yellows that we have. I wonder if we're going to get a yellow. Do you guys think we're going to get a new yellow? Tracy says, I'm happy to watch you create anything. I love your cards. Tracy, you are the best. I love your projects too. All your projects are so beautiful. You do a lot of really cool 3D stuff too. I agree, Roberta. Oh, hi, Trip. How are you? Okay. And then Roberta says, I used this DSP today for a simple thank you card. I have to go back and watch a replay, Roberta. Hi, Angela. Oh, what DSP paper was that? This is called Fancy Flora. Fancy Flora. Say that 3 times fast. Fancy Flora 6x6 designer series paper pack. And I had pulled some specific patterns for these cards. So this was one of them. This is what it looks like in the full 6x6. This is just the other side of that paper. I had gotten a pack of paper that had this weird gray line on 2 of my sheets, and that's one of them. So we'll just use the softer side for that one. No big deal. But you can see there's such a variety. And it's like, to me, this is what I would describe as more like abstract. And when you first look at this paper, you're like, well, what would I do with that, right? Meanwhile, I can't stop using it. I keep using it on everything. I love the variety of it. But these are some of those patterns. So this is more of a floral pattern. I used this on one of my classes. And then on the other side, right, just depending on the way you cut that, you can get more green or you could get more petal pink. So there's a lot of freedom in using this. And then here's more of the fresh freesia. And then we have a lot of blue in some of this too. And there's some of the blue. So that is what the Fancy Flora 6x6 Designer Series paper looks like. Now, that said, there are so many Designer Series papers that I haven't even gone over with you guys yet. And I'm like, I can't believe how behind I am. But, you know, if you don't have Fancy Flora, here's Delicate Desert. And how beautiful would Delicate Desert be as a background for the tulips too, right? So just depending on that paper that you want to use, right, what you want to bring in, there are so many beautiful Designer Series papers that you could use. And I do want to say to you guys, I haven't checked the status on this. I don't know what the status is for Delicate Desert, but as of today, Fancy Flora was still available. And then let me bring in some other ones too. So we have this dry brushed metallic, Country Floral Lane. I should do like a DSP. I should. Oh, you know what? This is retired now. Day at the Farm. By the Bay. That was like one of my unexpected favorites. I wanted to do a class with this, but it's on back order. Country Gingham. I think Country Gingham is still available. Kathy and Roberta, if you guys are still here, do you know if this one's on back order or not? Let me know. Hi, Jocelyn. Okay, so again, just giving you guys some different ideas depending on the DSP that you may already have. If you participated in a paper share, that's what these packs are actually from, is from a paper share. But like I said, if you don't have Fancy Flora, how beautiful would it be with this? So just go through your paper, see what you have. And I mean, this is the definition of spring right here. So beautiful. I have to use this stuff. I'm gonna get caught up, you guys, I promise. And so for those of you who do follow me on Instagram, I did a little bit of a post today, a story just saying I'm behind getting my YouTube videos posted. And that's just because of what I have going on behind the scenes. Doing some advocating for my son, and it takes a lot of time and phone calls and emails and documentation and things like that. So I wasn't expecting it to be so intense and time sensitive, but it has been. So I'm going to get caught up, I promise. But in the meantime, we have two really pretty cards for tonight. I want to thank you all so much for being here and hanging out with me live. For those of you who are coming on for the replay, I am just as grateful for you. If you leave me comments, I'll be sure to reply as I see them popping up. And then I will be back, hopefully, I believe I will be live with you guys on Tuesday. I want to wish you all a very happy St. Patrick's Day. I wore my green for today. Oh, Kathy says it looks like all the DSP is still in stock. Good. Thank you. Excellent. That is good news. Thank you so much for checking on that. Okay. Yeah. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day if you celebrate. And I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.